What's going on, Vapor fans? Welcome to another episode of the Straight Volt. Shoutouts to my boy Keith from Craft Vapory. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the attack of the 3000 mAh battery. What am I talking about? Well, there's a lot of things going on, and as always, we will get to the bottom of it, so stay tuned and find out. Before we begin, this episode brought to you by our sponsors, Craft Vapory. Craft Vapory, you already know, the only way to vape. Let's check out their website real quick. You can check them out at craftvapory.com. I personally like this company very, very much because other than the normal services that they provide, you really got to go over to the store to find out what's going on. They are a company who got up onto its feet without doing any of the typical custards or strawberries and things like that. So they only have 3 flavors. It's toast, cornbread, and sticky rice. Check them out, and I'm sure that you'll find a favorite. Okay, guys, so here we are at the Brillipower.com website, all right? And Brillipower themselves are claiming over here that they are IMR 18650 3100 mAh 40 amp high drain battery, okay? So do I agree with this? No, not at all, okay? I'll show you guys later on with the charts and graphs and of what they actually are. But before we get into anything, okay, I want to talk about battery chemistries real quick. Okay, so 3 main chemistries when it comes to the lithium-ion batteries. Okay, so these the ICR, the IMR, and the INR. Okay, so the ICR were the cobalt batteries, right? And they were around, somewhere around the same time. They're IMR batteries, and the difference is that the IMR batteries, the M standing for manganese, would give us more discharge but lower density. And then the ICR batteries, which is the cobalt batteries, that's what the C stands for, and that would give us a little more density and less of the high drain ability. Okay, excuse me. So what are the INR batteries? The INR batteries these days is the most popular chemistry, and that one is what allows us to have a nice balance of like all sorts of things. Okay, they are hybrid batteries, and there are a combination of like nickel and cobalt. So what are some characteristics in terms of venting between these 3 batteries? Okay, so let's just be clear on that. The IMR batteries, the manganese ones, was known as the safer chemistry ones, specifically for this reason, which is when they do vent, they just vent. They release gases, and as long as the mod that you're using has proper ventilation for it to release the gases, it's not going to explode or anything like that, okay? So it'll just release gases and then be done. The ICR batteries, okay, is the ones that is going to be a little more volatile. It will release gases, catch on fire, and eventually pop. The INR batteries, okay, is just going to release gases and catch on fire, so it will produce a lot of heat. However, my argument comes back to, why should they vent? If you are using batteries, good batteries, quality batteries, for its recommended specification within its parameters, why should they vent at all? So you shouldn't be worried about like all these chemistries and chemistry safety and stuff like that. What you should be worried about is the specification that's printed on these batteries, whether or not they are true, okay? Because the moment that you are pushing them way past its limits or whatever, it's going to be dangerous either way, regardless of how it vents. All right, so it's not the venting of how it vents that you should be concerned with, but more of the fact that, are the specifications within the parameters, are you using it within the parameters of the true specifications so that you don't vent, period. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so let's go to a little dive down so that I can show you the physical batteries, and then we'll talk a little bit more about them. Okay, so here we have the Brillipower 3100 mAh 40 amps IMR battery. Okay, now this over here is a cut up version of what is an HG2 battery. Okay, so I cut this up to see the markings inside and stuff like that. Now I didn't cut up this battery because at the end of the day, there's a lot of different warehouses by LG, by Samsung, by Panasonic, and they're all going to have like slightly different markings on them. I will do this in another episode, okay, to talk more about like the different markings and what they mean. But at the end of the day, even if I cut the wrapper on this one, all right, I still wouldn't be able to know for sure what is going on. I can only speculate what's going on. So when I first saw that this one had a 4-prong tip, and so does the HG2 over here, right? And being that it claimed something very close to 3000, I only speculated that this thing might have been an HG2 battery. Okay, so in order to properly confirm this, there's only one thing for us to do, and that's to go over to the battery analyzer. So let's just do that right now. Graph time. Alright guys, as always, we're over here at the straight volt battery graphs, and the first thing we're going to do is bring out the Brillipower 3100 discharge. Okay, now you'll notice that I only did the discharge curve for this one. I didn't bother doing the power profile, and I'll tell you why real shortly. Okay, so let's bring over the graph over here and blow it up on this screen, and you will see. Okay, so what is promised, 3100 milliamp hours over here, so that's where the line is going to be, but the actual amp hour of this thing is 2871. Okay, now what I don't like about these embellished specs, okay, and saying something is what it is and not whatever, is that it becomes very difficult to grade the battery once I find out exactly what they are. And here's what I mean. When you buy a battery, okay, I grade things that, like, you know, as long as it's something around, like, you know, 95.5, 96% and greater, this is probably an A-bin battery. Most likely it is an A-bin battery, okay? And you know, considering that it's new and of low internal resistance. Now, once the battery is something like, you know, between 91.5, 92 to 95% or whatever, I would say that this is a B-bin battery. Okay, and then as far as, you know, the C-bin battery, I've never seen anything lower than 86%. 86 is pretty bad, you know. Now, so what is the problem? The problem is that now if I had to grade this thing says 92.6%. It's very difficult to tell now, because this thing was 92.6% of 3100 milliamps and not the 3000 milliamps, so that I could tell you whether this thing is A, B, or C. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and overlay to what we speculated that it was, and I said that this thing is probably a HG2 battery. So we're just going to go over to our battery graphs that we've done in the past over here, and then bring up the HG2 discharge, and you tell me, is this the same battery? Because it looks very, very close to me. So as I said before, right, with what's going on with the HG2 battery being like in different bins and stuff, this is an A bin that I've acquired, all right, and it's giving us over here 2908 2908, right, and that totals to 96.9% of, if the battery is 3000 milliamps, right? If that's what it's promising, then it's giving us 96.9%. So being at almost 97%, that is a grade A battery, okay? Now, if we had to go back over here and then say 2871, so what would you say? Is this also a grade A battery, or would you say it's a low A, it's like an A minus, or it's like a B plus or something like that? I would say something more of the lines of like a B plus, you know what I mean? So that is the way, you know, to look at the batteries through these graphs. So earlier in this episode, I mentioned that we are on the attack of the 3K battery, right? The 3000 mAh battery. And what do I mean by that? Well, in front of me over here, I also have another battery, which is the purple Imran 3000 mAh battery, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys the overlay on that as well. So let's go over to the straight volt battery graphs once again and pick out the Imran battery. So the Imran purple 3000 over here, I have the half amp current, and take a look at this thing, and you tell me one more time, is this the same battery, right? And this is what I mean by it, okay? You gotta, guys, start to be a little bit more on the lookout for stuff. A lot of these things that are somewhere around like 3K, that marked for 3K and stuff, is heavily, most likely just an HG2 battery, okay? And because of that, if you just want to buy a if that's what you're looking for, then just buy the HG2 battery. There's no reason to pay extra for the premium wrapper, especially with the fact that you might end up getting a B bin anyways, right? Now, the good thing about the IMRIN that I tested is that it says over here 96.7% on the purple IMRIN. So at least they were giving you an A bin battery on the HG2. All right, guys. So that's all for this episode of the Straight Vault, and we'll see you in the next.